Alright, hello everyone, this is the Vacuuminator from Modular Media here with
Ryan Bonavia
from Toy Federation in Greenville, South Carolina. Oh, I'm sorry, Greer, South Carolina.
Right.
It's a fine line we walk.
Greenville County, but Greer.
Yeah. So why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about Toy Federation and what you think the general idea behind the store is.
This is a giant happy place.
Yeah, it really is.
It's everything, like I like to say, from your childhood to today. I mean, it's vintage as well as modern, because if you grew up with old school Transformers, you probably still collect the new stuff. So we have the original stuff, like we have the original G.I. Joes, which are down. I got them over there, but and then the 80s Joes, and then we have the more modern current Joes, even though we haven't had any Joe love in a while.
Yeah, but
even
that's
though
about to change.
It's coming back, right.
Well, I'm excited about that.
But yeah, no, this is just a childhood dream come true. It's just playing with toys for a living. It can't be any better.
Yeah, I've always said this place is so amazing to me because it feels like it feels like a real embodiment of what my experience with toy collecting is, because I'm in the middle of everything. I was a child of 2000, so I kind of know the weird revivals of stuff that nobody cares about.
Right.
But I'm also constantly learning things about the older stuff, and I'm buying the current stuff. It's super interesting to see a store that actually embodies that, because it's kind of rare.
And with the craziness of YouTube, I'm getting 10-year-olds coming in here and asking for some obscure toy line that they would never even know existed, but they learned about it from the internet.
Yeah.
And then they want it.
We got kids coming in here looking for like Zoids and Dino Riders.
Right. Stuff that I was like, how do you even know what this is? But they know, or Mantech, or just obscure lines, and they know what it is, and it's great. So, I mean, it's not just the people who grew up with it, but it's people who never grew up with it, or grew up in the last 10 years or whatever, they still are looking for some of this vintage. So it's cool.
Yeah. So how long exactly has Toy Federation been around? How long have you been operating?
Well, the brick and mortar, I think I'm almost 5 years.
Okay.
I mean, I was online before. I was more of a con circuit kind of guy. I was a traveling roadshow, set up at shows, but it was good to gauge what was popular, because you're in the fields and you're learning what people are asking for. You might have a booth full of X and nobody's asking about that, but then they say, hey, do you have any of this? And then you start to learn, well, that's what, like real time you're learning what, and so you adapt. But at one point I didn't sell anything. I was more like modern military stuff, die-cast tanks and planes and 1/18 scale stuff, and your more modern 12-inch military, and that was the old me. And then I adapted. But, I always had a love for this. It never died. I mean, I still collected vintage for myself. That's just not what I necessarily sold to the public.
Yeah, and this is also your second location, correct?
Well, we used to be across the street. This location's 4 times, almost 5 times bigger.
Yeah, it is really expansive in here. Like, you guys will have seen some of the B-roll I shot, but it is just massive in here. It feels like a miniature con dealer room, I think.
Yeah. And we do our own con, Retro Toy Con.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. So we already went over my next question. So can you give the viewers at home a little bit of an idea of how you tend to handle buying collections, and then what your general method for pricing things out is?
Well, a lot of it's just experience. I mean, if it's an obscure thing that we've never seen, but I mean, I know what I can sell something for. I mean, and there's other sites like you're on eBay or Amazon or other Google searches and see what retailers are selling stuff for. There's items that might get $100 on eBay, but they're $75 here. So it's what the market can bear.
You're trying to undercut general market price.
Everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody can look and price shop. And loyalty goes so far. You want to save money.
You don't want somebody coming in here going, "Oh, this is $10 less on Amazon. I'm just gonna want it."
Right. But I mean, there's something to be said for especially when it comes to vintage. I mean, you could be looking at a stock photo on the internet and there's quantity 10. Well, how do I know I'm getting the one in the picture? Or the joint's tight, has it been repaired, is there cracks?
Is it going to come with all the accessories like it says it does?
Is it bootleg, especially when you start buying modern Legends, NECA, Black Series, they're all coming out of China and they're not real. SH Fig Arts, Bandai stuff, it's just, if something's 80 and you're getting it for 20 free shipping from China, don't think it's real. It's not.
So, do you guys do any online or over the phone selling?
Typically we don't. The store is typically so busy that I have a hard time keeping up with the people that are here.
Yeah.
Now, during the shutdown, when we were not open to the public.
For viewer reference, this is being recorded in May of 2020.
Right. We had no choice but to sell online in order to get some revenue coming in order to keep the lights on and the rent paid. But, we've made exceptions. It's just I don't have like an online shop where everything in here is on it. It would be impossible. I would listen. Yeah.
So if you want something, if you see something back here you like, you gotta get your ass in here.
But I've made exceptions. It's just if you're patient, because
busy man.
We're constantly busy. Now, if I get to that stage where I had a full-time guy that just handled online stuff, we're not quite there yet. And a lot of the stuff we have is one-offs. So, if you put a particular vintage piece in the case, like we just sold an Optimus Prime today, I could probably ship it, but it'll sell here within a day, and I don't kind of need to ship it. And shipping vintage is, you don't know how. I can pack it right. It doesn't mean it's going to get to you okay, because depending on how it's handled from here to there. But just contact them.
Yeah, it's a factor of trust. So, going to you a little more, I want to know what personally makes Ryan happy. What makes him tick? What is your personal niche with collecting? Because you've got everything in here.
True.
But this isn't your personal collection.
No, nothing in here is
really,
mine.
What really makes you go, I've got to get my wallet out for that?
Well, I collect vintage Star Wars, vintage G.I. Joe. Meaning vintage G.I. Joe is 82 to 94, so it's the real American hero.
Yeah.
But that's what I grew up with as a kid. I was a lot of good toy lines came out in the 80s. But I, as a kid, focused on two lines, and I didn't venture outside of those two lines.
You're way smarter than me because I just do everything.
Well, see, I wanted everything, and there's no way if I started dabbling in other toy lines, maybe I had this intuition as a kid, but if I start getting He-Man or Transformers, then I can't get all the Star Wars I want. Because parents only got so much money. And so I said, if I could just focus, then I think I can accomplish this. And I had all the Star Wars.
Oh, this was a so I think I had.
I didn't have every Joe, because see, Star Wars was first for me, and the Joe came later. I transitioned from Star Wars to Joe, and then at some point, then I aged out. Back then, it wasn't cool to play with toys.
Yeah.
Now you could be, a 4-year-old buying toys, nobody's going to do it twice, but then you might have got beat up in the playground.
That's fair. So, getting back to the retro Toy-Con thing,
Right.
I know things are a little uncertain right now because of the status of the world,
Right.
but can you tell us any upcoming events you want to plug or any social media you want to plug?
Well, on Facebook, it's Toy Federation Shop. I believe it's the same on Instagram as well as Twitter. The toy show's Retro Toy Con. It's held every November. It's always the weekend before Thanksgiving or the weekend before Black Friday. It focuses on 80s toys, modern toys as well, but it might be a modern Transformer vendor. But you're not going to see more vintage in one place. I've been doing shows for a long time, 20, 25 shows a year. I like going to a show that's full of toys, not 90% comics. And then out of the 5 toy vendors, 3 are pop vendors. Not that pops aren't good, it's just I want a vintage venue, and they're hard to come by. So we decided to do a venue that allows your retro toy guys to come to one place, and then we cater our guests towards the toys. So our first year, we had Skeletor, which is Alan Oppenheimer, and then we had Michael Bell, who was Duke, or Neil Ross, who was Shipwreck, and then last year, we had Samantha Newer, who was Jem from Jem. So we're hitting all your '80s cartoons. Last year was Lina.
Greg Berger, aka Grimlock.
Yeah, but he's Spirit, Firefly, and Joe, and then he's Odie, and then he's all this other stuff. But this year we're not finished with our announcements because we kind of stopped the announcing because of the chaos that the world was in. But we're gonna have Destro there, as Arthur Urquhart, an amazing guy.
That's exciting.
Right, and he's if you're a Transformer fan, he's devastating, and if you're a Centaurs fan, he's Spydrax. Or a robotics fan, he was in robotics. But I mean, I don't think there's a higher caliber G.I. Joe name than Arthur. And then, we're going to have April from the Turtles.
Yeah.
Which, Turtles is classic. It's 90s. It's technically late 80s. It's,
a lot of people tend to lump it in with the 80s.
Oh, well, yeah, right. And, but, we're far from done. I mean, we're going to have Michael Biehn there. But, he's not necessarily... he had toys, but he's just this huge. It's more a personal thing. But I mean, who grew up in the '80s doesn't know who Michael Biehn is?
Yeah,
you just got Terminator and Aliens, and then you got
super exciting.
Tombstone, and just a ton of stuff. But I mean, it's going to be great, and we still have more to announce.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, that is just about all of my questions, but I do have one more for you because, as you know, over the last few weeks, I've moved and I've unpacked my collection, and while I was doing that, I did a little stuffing all of us tend to do from time to time. I pruned some things out. So, are you personally interested in buying some toys today?
Of course.
Always,
every day.
I'll go get them and we'll cut to going through that in a little bit.
All right, cool.
All right.